Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Access Entity video, and in today's video I'm back with another interview. I'm here with Trevor Loken. Trevor, how are we?
Hanging in there, man.
Good to hear, mate. And so am I right in saying you're a 25-year-old featherweight who's 1-0?
Yeah, that's correct.
Brilliant. And so, you're my first bare knuckle fighter, and it's a pleasure to have you on, of course. And so we'll just start with a question which I always like to start off with. Why did you start fighting?
My brother started fighting a long time before me, and it just I rolled into it, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's something I was always interested in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And so would you say that you had much of a, I suppose, maybe amateur background or fighting background before going to BKFC?
I had 5 amateur fights in MMA, and MMA is kind of my overall goal, but BKFC really opened the door for me, and they're giving me a pretty good opportunity, so I'm going to stick with them for at least a few more fights, and we'll see what happens after that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And so was that kind of, that opportunity, the leading factor in why you became a bare knuckle fighter, or was there kind of any other aspects of why you decided to?
So they offered me Marcus Brimage for my first fight, and that was really the deciding factor, is that it was an opponent that's well known, so it was a good, opponent to get in my win column. Kind of opened the door for a lot more offers.
Yeah, of course it did. And so now you've been working with them for a little while now, and it's the leading company in bare knuckle fighting. And so what is it like working with them in general?
They've been pretty easy going. I haven't had too many complaints. It is what it is. It's just like any MMA show or any other big promotion. There's contracts and a lot of working out, terms and things like that. But other than that, it's been, just like anything else, really, and be the same as working with like Bellator or UFC or whatever, just a slightly smaller scale.
Definitely. And so, I suppose with the state of bare knuckle fighting at the moment, as it isn't still huge at the moment, would you say that fights are somewhat more easier to make than possibly if you were in like a UFC?
Yeah, yes and no. Because, most of the fighters haven't made it to a huge stage yet, and most of them aren't getting paid what they want to be getting paid overall, like in the long run.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's tough to make matchups simply because people are scared of getting beat early on in their career. They don't want to tack on losses early on. So it can be tough still at, BKFC. But I think overall, most of the fighters, they want to fight everyone. They want to fight the best. So I haven't had a problem yet, but we'll see where it goes.
And of course, it is coming along very well, it's developing very well, and at the moment it seems like the main kind of, I suppose, leading people are the Mike Perrys and that kind of level thing, because they've got their name from elsewhere. But would you say that it's not going to be too far now until there is a leading person who's coming from BKFC and is getting famous from BKFC?
Yeah, I think that now that's starting to gain some traction, obviously, with more UFC fighters coming over to BKFC and having fights in BKFC. BKFC is gaining traction with a wider audience. So as it, grows and assimilates more fighters, more, guys who are coming over from UFC, and more big names show up, I think you'll start to see people climbing through the ranks in BKFC and really making a name for themselves there. It can't really be done until BKFC is, just as big as, other promotions. But it's definitely possible. It's bound to happen. With how far that it's reached already as far as an audience base, I think it's bound to happen. It's inevitable.
Of course it is. And so, what would you say currently? You're so early on in your BKFC career, and so what would you say is your main motivation at the moment?
I just want to get wins, and I want to get a belt. That's the overall goal. I wouldn't be in BKFC if I, wasn't going to get a belt out of it. I want to do that as soon as possible. I want to fight as fast as possible. I want to stay healthy, not get injured. all of the above, and it really just comes down to making matchups and staying healthy.
Indeed, and I mean, you've got a big matchup come May 12th, so just coming next weekend, I believe. And so, I mean, overall, how's preparations been going for it?
It's good. I'm getting the weight off, and cardio's on point. Techniques as good as it can be. I kind of took this one a little short notice. We knew this was going to be the opponent, but we didn't really have all the details worked out until just under a month ago. So this one was pretty short notice, but all things considered, everything's gone well and training's good, and it's going to be another one for the books come Friday. So.
Indeed, that's good to hear, man. And I mean, just to speak about your opponent, we've got Brandon Allen, 2-1 in the BKFC. And so, how much do you kind of know about him as a fighter?
I watched his 3 BKFC fights. I haven't seen any of his MMA fights. I know he's tough. He's athletic. He's fast. He has a much more of a boxing style than I do, for sure. I think it's going to be interesting. If he can stay on his feet and ride out the first round, then I think it'll turn out to be a pretty stylistic matchup. It'll be interesting to see how it goes down. So,
indeed. And so, just to speak about your kind of style, what would you say makes yourself interesting as a fighter?
Well, I'm definitely not an orthodox striker. That's for sure. I hit hard. I like to test my opponents. I like to really put some throttle down early and see if they fold. Most people do. All of my other opponents have. But, I couldn't really put a name to, a likeness of how my striking is. But I'm very unorthodox, for sure. I'm lanky, so it makes a big difference in how I use my length. I'm not very tall, but my reach is that of somebody who's like 6'3", 6'4". I have like a 74, 75 inch reach. So, definitely there. It's, that's a huge advantage when it comes to bare knuckle boxing, so it'll be interesting. It'll definitely be something fun. See how it goes.
Indeed. And, I mean, just, I suppose, final question on BKFC. How far do you believe you can go in that sport?
Well, the 45 belt is, that's for starters. We'll see if they want to sign another, or want me to, sign another contract after that, or what they're willing to do as far as moving forward after I take the 45 belt. But if I'm healthy, my hands feel good. Obviously, BKFC is pretty brutal on the knuckles. But as long as I stay healthy and my hands are good, and after I take the 45 belt, I'll make the move up to 55 and gun for that belt, or maybe even cut a little more and go down to 35 and gun for that belt. So there's a lot that can be done. I believe there's no title holder at the moment. They have a matchup between Kai Stewart and Louis Lopez for the featherweight belt at the moment. That's definitely interesting. It'll be interesting to see who wins and who the opponent's going to be for me. So we'll find out.
Indeed, we will. And so, I mean, you spoke about possibly wanting to go to MMA, and would you be more than open to possibly the opposite of what people are doing, which is UFC to BKFC, but for you, BKFC to UFC?
Well, that's the goal. I mean, that's the overall goal. I'd love to stick with BKFC as long as they'll give me a platform, and as long as I'm successful, and I hope that they're willing to allow me to compete in MMA as well as BKFC while I'm training for both. I'm training for both no matter what. Throughout my camps and everything, and in between camps, I'm still doing MMA. I'm training hard and grappling. I'm still going to be doing grappling tournaments and all that kind of stuff, and I'll try to get some MMA bouts in there, and hopefully have my pro MMA debut soon as well. Because that's where the skill set lies. I mean, my striking is far and away the worst aspect of my game.
Mm.
So it'd be fun to get into MMA. It'd definitely be fun to transfer over to UFC and or even Bellator or another promotion, Cage Fighting Fury or whatever. So we'll see where it goes.
We will indeed, man. And so, just to leave with this final question, which you always like to ask, you've got a little bit of a platform here. Would you like to shout anything out?
No, I don't got any shout outs. My coach is fighting on the 27th in May, Kelly Anderson. It'd be awesome to see his comeback. Everybody should come out for that. So, other than that, I don't got anything.
Brilliant, man. Well, best of luck in your upcoming fight, mate, and I'll be sure to checking out the result. And like I said, best of luck, and maybe a little bit further along down the line when you are fighting for this featherweight title, which I'm sure won't be too far away, we'll be able to maybe do another interview.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on.
Brilliant. Okay, and so if you're new around here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do need like the video, and thanks for watching.